right, Jordan Belfort here in the Wolf's Den with a special series of podcasts centered on young-ish entrepreneurs, people who've struggled but now have achieved traction in their business and are growing rapidly. And I want these people on to share the secrets, to share their trials and tribulations, the shit that they went through to get to where they are now, and just show you how, no matter where you are in life, if you're struggling right now, things are not going your way, if you're willing to put one foot in front of the other and keep trying with strategy, you can achieve massive greatness. So I think it's really inspiring to see people just, you would think that they're not the most famous people in the world, maybe, but they actually have achieved greatness in their business, and they're in the process of becoming leaders in their industry. So I think that's a really exciting thing to do. So guest today, Rhyan Finch. How are you, buddy?
Hey, what's up, Jordan? Thanks for having me.
So your business is real estate, correct?
That's right.
Okay, and first, just give me a snapshot of what your company, First Class Real Estate, looks like right now.
Right now, we have 107 offices in 21 states. We have 22 area reps.
So 22 area reps, mean these are people that have bought like master license, your franchise, right?
Yeah, they bought the ability to sell more. So those have sold as well as 107 franchises.
Got it. So right now, 107. What's your goal? If you had to say, where do you see the company in 5 years from now?
Sure. So our goal is for 4,000. So we're obviously pushing to get to hitting about 80 a month. So that way we can hit the 1,000 a year.
And what that would put you at a size similar to what other well-known franchise?
Yeah, I mean, Remax is out there. Keller Williams is out there. They have a significant amount of locations as well.
How many does Remax have?
I'm not sure. Maybe a couple thousand. So.
Okay, so you want to be one of the largest, if not the largest in the country.
Sure, yeah. And the goal with that is we want to average about 50 agents per location. So that would put us at 200,000 agents. That would make us the #1 company in the country.
So what would you say here? I want to go back to the beginning in a moment, but what would you say is the chief differentiating factor of your company, First Class Real Estate? Why would an agent be attracted to come to you? And are you looking for experienced agents, or you train internally with a system, you look brand new agents?
Sure. So we got a couple things. One is an agent comes in because we have a 100% commission model. So that's really attractive to agents. We've moved it down to a transaction fee, and that transaction fee allows them to keep more money. That was designed essentially on purpose so that we could end up attracting the most agents. We also have franchisees that find this attractive because it's a business in a box. So you don't even have to have a real estate office. You can have no real estate office, no employee, and run. So COVID essentially made us scale and grow really, really fast. So we could add agents on. Our technology set up to run nationwide. So now they can run $50 an agent a month. They have all the technology they need, and they pay a $150 royalty.
So is it a virtual office per se?
Yeah, they can run virtual. We have some brick and mortar. Then they set those up, and then we put mortgage or title offices inside of it so they can run that way as well.
Got it. So how would you compare yourself to, what's the large one that is a really large real estate company that does the same thing where they get very, very high commissions out? What is it, the public company?
It's a corporate company. You're talking about like EXP?
Boom.
EXP.
There you go.
So the difference.
How would you compare yourself to EXP?
Sure. The difference in this is the agents there are set up to be agents that are 80-20. Ours are now getting 20% more commission because they're paying a transaction fee there as well. So they're getting 20% more commission. The other key is this: our franchisees, when they're growing their office, they're building their own business. So they get the profit of it, and now they have a sellable product.
Got it.
When they're at the other one, they don't really have a sellable product. They're building somebody else's business.
Is there like a network marketing side of the EXP model? You bring in other people and you get overrides? Is that it?
Yeah. They have that. They do it as a downline. So they get agents bringing in other agents.
Got it. So are you looking, when you hire, to bring in experienced agents, or you taking people brand new and showing them how to actually sell real estate?
So the beauty of our model is we kind of have both of them. The way it's set up is the franchisee runs as the broker and then can train, provide leads and everything they need to support agents coming up. But now they have somewhere to go after they grow and develop. They can go to the 100% side, then they can start building a team. And then those people even end up opening their own offices.
Got it. So let me ask you the obvious question here. Is you're giving away 100% commission. How do you make money?
Everyone says that. And that's the sauce that's in this franchise money, because what we did is the franchise model. What I did is I went and negotiated really low prices with all of the technology pieces and then added in centralized services. So now one thing we do, if we do marketing, we can do marketing, and now every agent gets the benefit of it, so we can run it really skinny. So it lost a lot of money. I lost a lot of money in the beginning to get it to where it is now, but now as we grow and scale, it adds more and more value.
So in other words, you're making money by selling ancillary services to the franchises.
We do. The other side is because the way we're set up is we run the technology. They're helping us cover the cost of the technology, and we've got it low. So when it's so low, even as we grow, I go back and renegotiate a lower one as we keep going, so we can get a better profit margin on our company.
Right. No, well, listen, there's obviously nothing wrong with marking up services to sell to your franchisees if, number one, it's still a fair price and if it's a great service and you're giving them 100% commissions. You have to make money somewhere, right? I mean, like, so I wouldn't be embarrassed. It seems like you're like a little bit like, well, we don't, I just say flat out, no, we make money by marking up services to our franchisees, and they still get a great deal because less they pay somewhere else, and the services are better.
We do, but the royalty is where we would make money.
Royalties on what?
On the transaction fee. So every transaction we collect $150. So then they charge the agent $495, and then we charge $150. So we're getting $150 of every deal going through as a royalty.
So in other words, when a real estate property, is it mostly houses?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Single family houses?
Yes.
Okay. So when an agent sells a single family home, on top of the commission, what is it, 6% or more or less?
Whatever they charge. They can charge anything they want. Doesn't matter to us, and it doesn't matter to the franchisee.
Seller's broker, right?
Sure.
All right. So they have to typically split the commission 2 ways, right? So whatever that might be, you're not dipping your beak in that.
Right.
But there's an additional transaction fee on the settlement of the property that amounts to about $600, of which you get $150.
Well, we get $500.
Oh, you
that.
get
the franchisee gets $500, and we get $150.
Right,
so they sell
right.
$1 million house. The agent only pays $495, and then our franchisee only has to pay $150. And they provide them all the technology to support to run through.
And so you get $150.
Right, that's correct.
So is that a big revenue stream for you or small?
It adds up. I mean, once you start selling the amount of homes we're selling now, and that was kind of the goal, is we're skinny and we run in there and let everybody else make money. If they're making money, then it'll add up and they keep growing.
No, well, without knowing all the economics and the various profit centers, I would be shocked that if you can't accumulate a massive number of offices, like thousands of offices, you'll figure out a way to monetize that value, right? That's a value you have of all these people that are selling under your brand. There's a million ways to monetize that, right?
That's
so
right.
Is that, it's an interesting strategy in the sense that, normally most entrepreneurs would, be trying to squeeze cash flow out of it a little bit earlier than you have. So was that a deliberate move you've made here? I'm going to delay my gratification, so to speak. I'm going to build a massively valuable or must say an incredible value proposition to attract more and more agents, and ultimately I'll figure out how to monetize it later?
I figured eventually a private equity or somebody like that will come in once we have something, we prove what we have. The other part of it is I'm not really driven by money. It's not a money thing for me. I spend money or market or do whatever I have to do to grow the company, as the objective is to grow, not to make money, even though it is profitable. And, we do stay close to the numbers and we are profitable.
Right. So. But you like money, right?
Yeah. I mean, I like the opportunities it gives, whether that's a quality of life or that's the opportunities to do more marketing and to grow it even further. And so, there's a dance between that. You're trying to keep money, but the more you keep, the more you have to pay in taxes. The more you reinvest in the business, you can double down, but you can't go to the negative.
But what I'm saying is that, like, in your mind, when you look at 5 years from now, is at some point in time you're saying there's going to be a major cash out here and it's all going to make sense from a financial level, or you don't really care if that happens?
I think that what'll happen is we'll do a little bit of both. We'll take some chips off the table and then we'll double down some money to go to the next level. And so it's going to have to be mass marketing. It's going to have to be more people knowing what we're offering. It has to be more tools. We're racing to the bottom to really drive up value and drive down prices. And so while inflation is going on, we're running it down.
Sure.
Home prices are going up and our numbers aren't changing. And so we're disrupting in that way.
How much of the business is being leveraged through online lead generation? Are you using platforms? Are you leveraging technology, or is it mostly offline stuff?
There's a lot of relational things. Essentially what happens is once one agent comes on, they end up knowing someone else and someone else. So they're always waiting to go, what's the hook? What's the catch? This promise of this, that, and the other seems too good to be true. Or, how are you making any money? We get those kind of questions all the time. But what we're doing now is building so much momentum that person then knows this person. Somebody runs a team. They now move over and can run an office. Somebody then brings over their friend. That friend comes over and then they're making money. And so it just kind of is word of mouth is going that way. We do marketing, market it, but there's so much noise out there. They don't know what's true and what's not now. There's so many scams and I say scams, but it's like they're just promising one thing, but they're delivering something else. And a guy told me one time, he said, if you tell people, a lie, enough people come over and they still won't leave. And that just stuck with me. And I was like, I don't want to do business that way. We try and always tell them exactly what to expect, so that way they know what they're going to get. And then we won't lose them out the back door. And so that's the way you can grow if you're not
them meaning the salespeople,
the agents, the franchisees, any of the people that are coming in. And we want to make sure we're giving them what we promised.
Got it. What does the average salesperson, real estate agent, make full time if they're with you for over a year? What's the typical?
Yeah, I mean, it varies so much, because they can be on a partner model and do a lot of leads that are given in, and they're on a split then. Or they can be 100% and they do less deals, or they can do 100%, they can have a lot of deals. So it varies. I mean, we have agents that do 20 million in sales volume, and then we have agents that don't have a transaction that have joined last month, right? So
got it. Makes sense. Okay, so let's go back now to the beginning.
Okay.
All right. So you're basically part of this big comeback story, right, in your life. So let's go back to your childhood. So what was it like for you? Did you come from a wealthy family? Did you come from a kind of a messed up family? And how did that impact the way you look at business today?
Sure. I grew up in a family where we drove a car to go get groceries. We called it the grocery go-getter, and it was just like a kind of a beat-up car. I lived in an apartment. Essentially, my apartment was about the size of the room that we have here, a little 2-bedroom apartment. My mom did the best that she could as a single mom. She made some poor life decisions, in some aspects that I learned from. And what I've done, whether that's from mentors or even in life, is to say, this is not what I want my life to look like. And this isn't, just because this is how it's set up doesn't mean it's how it has to end. And so I made decisions contrary. So if she smoked cigarettes, I didn't smoke cigarettes, right? And so if they spent every dollar they made, I would save money, right? And so I kind of did that over and over and over again. It also forced me to explore different sides. So I would go to Walmart and buy a 4-pack of bubble gum, and then I would go to school and sell it. And so it cost me 88 cents at Walmart. I still remember this to this day, but I could sell that for now $2. So I was doubling my money while I was already at school. So I could do things. I don't know, 14.
Got it.
So, and I made a couple $100 a week. So it was a lot of money for us, at that point in time. So, but I learned the sales side of it. And the funny thing is I never chewed the gum. So I wouldn't do it because that would cost me money. It was only 10 cents for a piece of gum, but I still just would not do it because I knew that it was a business. It wasn't really there for the luxury. So
got it. It's typical like your cocaine deal. Don't get high in your own supply, right?
I knew that was coming.
Right?
I knew it was coming. Yeah.
So you said that mother smoked cigarettes and she made bad life choices, which is something I understand deeply myself. I made a lot of bad life choices with drugs, as everyone knows, and I'm proud that I overcame that. Right? I've been sober for those. Did your mother? Are you referring to things like substance abuse involved at all?
Yeah, she had some substance abuse.
Okay, and was that for you as growing up with that? So, you kind of saw that, and you never did drugs?
No, I've never done drugs. So, I mean, I drink, but I never did any drugs. So
okay.
I always went the polar opposite. And so being focused, I mean, I've even learned, even in the nitty gritty of that stuff, is that everything that breaks your focus in business is a distraction. And how far would you be ahead if you stayed focused? And, I may have focuses that I go play poker somewhere or go do something like that. I may do something that breaks my focus, and I have to get back on it and go after it. So,
right. Well, I mean, for me, it was, sort of like, the drugs are like insidious. Like, you don't, when you start doing it, it's all fun and games. And then, you do a little bit more. And before you know it, you're doing a little bit more. And, then it's out of control. And once you start on that path, then you start justifying and hanging out with other people who are doing drugs. And it just seems perfectly normal. So it's kind of easy to get out of control. Is that what you kind of saw in your own family life?
I did, but they hid a lot of it from me. And really, ultimately, I got in with some really good mentors that really gave me good information and kept me kind of grounded and on the right path of making the best decisions. And
At what age? At what age is
that? Was probably 21, 22, right after my daughter.
Up until then, so did you go to college?
No college.
No college.
Well, I did a couple years at a college, but I didn't do anything with a degree because I was doing college. I had my daughter. I had gone through a divorce, and then I was working in real estate, doing sales myself. So it was a lot, and it was I'm not using this degree for anything, so I slowed it down.
Where did you You said you had a daughter, right? So what age were you when you had a daughter?
I had her at 21. So she's 21 now, and I had her when I was 21.
And were you married at the time?
I was married. We went through a divorce, and I ended up with my daughter, which is actually what drove me into real estate. I went to church. I was going to church, and I go to this church softball thing, and the guy drives up in this Cadillac, and I'm driving like my aunt's $1,000 minivan at that point in time. And I said, man, what do you do? And he's like, I'm in real estate. I mean, he's just this big bravado kind of guy. And so drives Cadillac. I'm like, I want to do what you do. And he's like, yeah, okay, kid, you know? And so he's like, go get the license. I go get the license. I end up selling the house, going through the divorce, moving to another house, getting the license, and quitting my job all in the same 30 days.
What part of the country?
Virginia Beach, Virginia.
Virginia Beach. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. So that's where you grew up.
That's where I grew up.
Got it.
Yep.
Okay, so you're in Virginia Beach now. You get your real estate license, and what happens?
So I go in and I'm going after it, but I think I've won the lottery. I'm making 40 grand, and I jump into making about 100 grand. And so it's great. It's 2006, and now the Bears go to the Super Bowl. So I said, me and my buddy, we come down here to Miami. We go to the Super Bowl. I mean, I'm spending money like it's going out of style. And then next thing you know, 2007 hits, and I go all the way back to zero. I had more debt than I had cash. I think I had $50 in my bank account. My daughter, at that point, put her in a private school. I had to pull her out of the school. I had to essentially downsize everything that I had. I ended up selling one of the houses. So I bought a couple houses along the way. And then that was before I even got into real estate. I had 3 houses before I got in. And then I ended up selling one of those, paid off the credit cards, and I said, never again. And so after that, I really just started focusing on the money and staying close to the numbers.
So it's a very common story about 2007. A lot of friends. I had some friends who were huge players in real estate, and they just got their clock cleaned. It was very tough. So when the market crashed, really the mortgage crisis hit, right? So you couldn't get financing for homes, and everything dried up, right? So when did you start to rebound?
So in 2009, I started looking at the market, and I've always kind of looked ahead, but I saw this thing and I said, well, they're going to have bank-owned properties. So I called up Fannie Mae direct, and I ended up with 7 offices. I think it was 7 or 12. I can't remember what it was, but offices across the country. And I set them up on a referral fee, and then I was getting deals coming back. They were paying me from across the country. So I set up a technology. It was sold 1,000 homes, became the number 7 agent in the country on the Wall Street Journal, number 1 RE/MAX agent in the country. And this was led up to about 2012 when that happened. But I just got the accounts. Slow
down for a second. So you called up, this is important. So you call up Fannie Mae. What do you say?
I just said, hey, I know you guys are selling properties. Will you hire me as an agent? They're like, sorry, you don't have any experience with REO. So they turned me away. So I spent 6 months calling them.
REO meaning?
Bank owned. Real estate owned is bank owned property. So I'm doing like short sales. I ended up listing 100 homes myself. So I listed 100 homes, but I'm calling them, kind of checking in. Eventually some guy says, all right, kid, I'll give you a chance. Here you go. But if you mess this up, it's on you. Yeah. He says, all right, and they give me the account. They give me a 374-page book and said, don't mess up.
And
I had to figure it out. I never even done a BPO, which is a broker price opinion. That's how they did the properties. Eventually what would happen is I could sell homes in other markets at a higher valuation, the way they graded. So I got those reps bonuses. And then when they got bonuses, they would open me in new territories essentially to go on and do more and more and more.
So you were voted, that's when you became one of the top real estate agents or offices?
In that case, it was an agent. I was still at RE/MAX.
In the Wall Street Journal, right? And that was 2012.
Yeah, that ended. It was 9 to 12. Yep.
And what happened after that? So is that like the beginning of your success story, or the more trials?
No, then it all changed and it redirected because they took the account away. And
Why?
So they said essentially you've become an outsource company. And they said we want to use outsource. We don't want all the dollars funneling back to Virginia Beach. We want it to be going through real political type stuff. And we're like, it's fine. It's their properties. It's theirs. But I said, never again will someone be able to take my business from me. So I did all of that work to build it. I was up late and I said, never again.
That's what happens when you deal with the government. It's very.
That's right.
I've been in business where you're getting government funding for a program, and the next thing you know, like they just. We don't like that, and you're out of business. It's very tough. Yeah.
So then we started building this business. We had 10 agents. 2013.
This business meaning first class. So what was the year you launched First Class?
2013. My sister and I left RE/MAX. She helped me build all the developmental side.
How old is your sister?
She's 5 years younger than me. So what does that make? 38. 30,
okay.
Yeah, 38.
So your sister, and so you guys launched this company, right? And from scratch.
From scratch. Yep.
Okay. And tell me, like, so what's the first thing you did? You opened up an office?
No, then I stupidly went and bought a building. So I took the money I had and said, all right, I'm going to go buy a building because I don't want to pay rent. But I now bought a 6,000 square foot, $1 million building, and I had 10 agents. So the cost per square foot just didn't make sense at that point. So, and I did that for a while, just kind of churning and going. And then eventually I ran into a mentor around 2015 or so. And then he got me into growing. And
So let me ask you a question, right? So this is important because, you know, as a young entrepreneur, right, it's very easy to make mistakes like that, like getting too much property, building up your overhead, over expansion. What were you thinking though? Like, so how did you work it out in your market? Because from above, in retrospect, it seems like a pretty stupid decision, right? Like, you know, you're just getting started, and you buy a building and put all your money in, you create this nut that you have to fill. But what were you? You're not a stupid guy. So what were you thinking though at the time?
Well, I liked real estate. I'm in the real estate business. I thought it'll appreciate, and at least I'm not paying rent to anybody else. So it seemed like a good idea. But the problem is I didn't learn my lesson.
So did you run the cash flow model? Like, you know, cash is king?
I didn't know what I was doing. I just went and bought a building. They're like, you're overpaying for it. And, you know,
right. So in other words, so what you didn't do, because it's important, the lessons are in the failures, right? I know.
That's right.
Trust me, I know. What you didn't do was look at it from multiple angles. You looked at it like, I like real estate. I think the real estate's going to go up. Why should I pay rent when I can own a building and get equity, right? But what you didn't realize is that the carrying costs of this building, right, we're going to be substantially more than rent. And in the beginning of a brand new business, right, you need to hang on to as much cash as possible.
That's
right. Is that a lesson that you learned?
It is, and it's something we talk to about with our franchisees all the time. Like, hey, stay skinny, stay small. You can always scale and grow as you grow, but once you get a vision for going big, you kind of see the future and you get overzealous after going after it. And I've seen that in other people, and I've done it myself.
Yes. Okay, so did you end up selling the building, or what happened?
So I did that, but then we opened up 3 more locations after that. So in 2017, we ended up with 3 more locations, and then we said, all right, we set up the corporate model to figure out the franchise model. So,
but so did you ultimately make this building work?
I did, because I ended up putting a operation in it that ran. So we grew. We got to 50 agents, then 100 agents, right? And then we said, all right, now we're going to go to more offices. But I leased the next offices. So you say, but I want the important thing here is how. So you said you go 50 to 100 agents. How? Recruiting. So then at that point in time, we hired recruiters and we went after growing. We had a vision of where we wanted to go.
Were you hiring existing real estate agents or training from scratch?
Both. So we ran a lead program and we ran the 100%. So that's where we were coming up with this model that we ended up with later.
Can you explain what that is? What do you mean lead program for?
So lead program, we would generate leads for them. So
for who?
For the real estate agents.
I'm saying when you said you grow, that's like for the average person listening, right? That's a substantial amount of people, 50 to 100 people. It's nothing to sneeze at, right?
Right.
My question is how did you find them? How did you recruit them? And were they existing agents that you stole, which is nothing wrong with that, from other, or you pulled away from other places, stole the wrong one, you pulled away from other firms, or did you come up with a way to train agents yourself and turn people who weren't real estate agents into successful agents?
Yeah, so we did a little bit of both. You know, we would go after agents that were already existing. We could see their production and said, all right, this will be a good fit for you. You'll save money moving over here.
So in that case, you went them and offered them a better value proposition in the form of, was it 100% commission back then or not yet?
I think it was 95% at that point in time.
So you were giving them a better deal, same resources, just they keep more money.
Ultimately, I've learned in you know, a part of this, the part of even sitting here with you is I like the art of the sale. And what I've learned in the sales side of this is people are coming for a reason. They'll buy a product or move forward because of a reason. And for us, it was essentially that they could make more money. So even if we were giving them leads and they were making the same split somewhere else, they could do more business so they could make more money. Or they could come over and do the same amount of business but get a higher commission split. It didn't matter which one.
So the value, so you're saying the key value proposition to attract an existing agent was you give them qualified leads, or at least leads of some sort, and you give them a higher payout, 95% versus they were getting on average of what, 80 or 60 or 50?
Yeah, it varied. Back then it was even lower, so it was easier to raise them.
So that was the strategy that allowed you to quickly grow to around 100 agents.
That's right.
And that was 2017?
That was about 2017.
And Was that an idea that you came up with yourself, or were you modeling someone else? Did you have a mentor that was helping you? Were you modeling, or you just intuitively said, "I'm going to kind of do this"?
So the owner of Movement Mortgage, Toby, was a mentor of mine to help me scale and model.
The who?
Movement Mortgage. It's a big national mortgage. He personally mentored me and helped me build out the model of what we were building, and kind of got me off of doing day-to-day things and start working on building things, like building a business. So we figured out that model and we built it.
Stop. Give me an example. This is another really important point, right? Because I think a lot of young entrepreneurs and older ones too who are not succeeding, they end up getting caught up in the day-to-day minutia of their businesses versus stepping back and focusing on more big picture things, which is not to say they're not keeping their eye on the ball, right? But they're allowing themselves to get out from the far, out from all the trees and see the forest from it. So what exactly were the things that you stopped doing, that you were doing, that were causing you to be myopic?
Well, ultimately, I learned something that I go by now, which is my job. And my job is to not have a job. So which means I had to hire out every part of the process. So once I realized I needed to hire people, I went into a new job. But then I said, wait a minute, I need another job. So I fast forwarded and went, okay, so if we're going to build this to this place, every lane had to have an employee.
For example?
The recruiter. So the recruiter, how would I pay them? What was their bonus structure? And then you had to navigate through all the things you did wrong. So if I said, all right, you're going to get paid for every person you bring in, but every person you bring in never brought in any revenue, then that was a bad model. And so I had to figure those things out, along the way.
All right, so anyone not know what that is? That's another sale on Shopify, the platform trusted by me and millions of other entrepreneurs to create their online store and so much more. That's right, even my website is with Shopify. Whether you're selling succulents or stilettos, start selling with Shopify and join the platform simplifying commerce for millions of businesses worldwide. Shopify covers all the sales channels to successfully grow your business, from an in-person POS system to an all-in-one e-commerce platform, even across social media platforms like TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. And thanks to 24/7, this is important by the way, support and free on-demand business courses, Shopify is here to help you succeed every step of the way. Sign up for a free trial at shopify.com/wolf. That's all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/wolf to start selling online today. Shopify.com/wolf. So you started, obviously, changed your model where they wouldn't get money unless they close sales, beyond their closed sales, right?
Right. Yeah. There's no money unless money trades hands.
Okay.
So
you started growing as a business person, right?
Mm-hmm.
In 2017, and you took a step back from the day-to-day and you focused on the day-to-day big picture. Is that what you did?
Mm-hmm. Well, so then what happened is I went from where I was doing deals to then hiring agents to do deals, to then hiring somebody to do deals, to then hiring someone to run offices.
Okay.
Right. So now they got to run offices and recruit agents. Agents would do deals and that. So I had to map all of that stuff. And I'm figuring out as I go, by the way.
And to finance this growth, was it from internal profits generated?
It was all the money I saved up from what was going on with the Fannie Mae stuff. So because I got murdered in 2007 and 2008, I was really, really tight on money. I wouldn't let it go out of my hand. I would stay profitable after that. But again, I went and started spending it after that. Like once we started scaling, I spent it again.
So in other words, the business itself in 2017 wasn't generating enough cash flow. You were deficit financing.
No, it was good. No, it was good. And I should have just stayed with that. In some part of my mind, I was like, we were making plenty of money in 2017. By the time we grew, we've got one office.
Define plenty of money.
I don't know, $1 million a year, about $1 million a year. But then what happened is we wanted to go to the franchise model. So now I'm building out offices, paying employees to be at other offices, growing way too fast. More than that, I built out a 12,000 square foot office. So now right before COVID, it's like 2020, I've got 4 offices, 2 of which is 18,000 square feet within 2 miles of each other. And so I'm thinking, we're going to support all these franchisees. We need all these employees. I just got this big picture. I've got an office down the street that's running. And then COVID hits and I'm like, nobody's in either of these offices.
So you said you had 2 offices within how long?
About 2 miles from each other.
Why is that?
Well, because one, I was leasing, it was the way I could get the 12,000 square feet, and it kept me close to home because I was, in my mind, I'm still like, that's my baby, that's my office, so I want to be able to go there. So it just kind of ended up working out that way, but they were two different businesses. One was a franchise business and one was a real estate business. So the services that came from the franchise business went to that real estate business, but they were two different companies.
Because there weren't two real estate offices.
No, and then I opened this 12,000 square foot office and hadn't sold one franchise yet. So, I mean, not even one. So
how much did it cost you to do the legal work for a franchise, and how long did it take you?
You said how much did it cost, and it just made me think of everything. But the franchise, I don't know, it was like $75,000. I mean, you know, if you're looking at it, just designing out the franchise
for lawyers,
document,
lawyers,
yeah.
And
but then you got the marketing, the sale, the model. So everything had to move from running an office to making a franchise, and so now you're skinning it all the way down to then go get a franchise. And people would ask me all the time, they say, well, why didn't you just run more corporate offices? And I said, well, because essentially we can set those people up to run their own businesses. Running corporate meant they worked for me. Running their own, it meant they worked for them. And that was a key factor in my mind of why that was so important to me.
Okay. So this is now 2017. Well, no, now we're into, well, then you said COVID hits, right?
It's
so 2020, right?
Yep, 2020 hits.
So, so you're in a position where you have a lot of empty offices, like everyone else out there, right? So you were forced to pivot. What did you do?
So in that point in time, that's when we figured out how we could run virtual, because we were like, the big ships can't change their model. We were coming to a place, it was like March, so we're changing our FDD from the previous year. And so then we go to this virtual model.
FDD?
Franchise disclosure. That's the document that you were referring to with the question. Yeah, I know they wouldn't necessarily know that. So so we end up redoing that, and we go to the virtual model, and then ultimately everyone just saw the vision of where we were going. They said, wait, I can open this up for the amount of money I'm paying in a cap per year at this company. I could have 5 years and pay this little bit of money and have all these people in supporting me. They realized it was just a click. It went off.
So I think, you bring up a really good point here, like, which is something that I've spoken about publicly, which is the idea that like large companies can't pivot nearly as quickly as small companies.
That's right.
It's like the example of the Titanic, right? And
that's
the
exactly
Titanic is heading towards the iceberg, and they're ringing the bell, steer, and the guy and they're steering, moving the wheel. Why isn't it turning? Why is it turning? Because it takes a ship that big a long time to turn. Well, a little Spigo could just kind of navigate around it. So would you consider that to be, as a small business owner on the way to becoming a big one, is that one of the sort of the greatest assets you have as a small business owner, is the ability to change directions very quickly, be nimble, so to speak?
It's a huge advantage. I mean, because when you can change directions like that, not having big, long leases, not having huge salaries of employees, I mean, when you can get skinny and cut and move, honestly, the movie Moneyball, you've seen that before? When he makes that line, he says, hey, if you're not breaking down your model, trying to figure out how to rebuild it, you're a dinosaur. Right. And essentially everyone's got to be innovating like that all the time.
Another good point. So, disrupting yourself, so to speak.
Exactly. And it's horrible. It's the worst feeling in the world, because now you got to get everyone else to kind of be into a new vision, because you can see where the future is going.
But like, there's sort of a balance to that, right? I mean, you can't, your business model can't be about disrupting yourself constantly. You need to be growing your core business model as you're like sort of testing out disruptive ideas, right? You're doing both at once, right?
That's right. That's right.
So tell me about this pivot you made in 2020. What did you do?
Well, once we went to the franchise model where we could run virtual, we realized we could remove the barrier that they had to have an office, that they had to have a build out, they had to have furniture. And essentially we said, we have all the employees here. They don't even need employees. We can run all of these things from here, and all they have to do is be able to hire agents. And agents at that point were considered essential. So when they were essential, agents could keep selling, and our sales, they dipped for like 2 months, and then they skyrocketed right back up.
So essentially, the offices, you eliminated the need for a physical office to own a real estate franchise.
Right, and then they keep the money. So now they're not paying the rent. And I think of this guy telling me one time, it's like a hot dog store opens up. He's like, who gets paid first? And I said, I don't know. And he said, the owner of the building, whoever's there, you got to pay the rent before you sell one hot dog. And that it stuck with me so much that I went, this was huge for us, because we removed that barrier. Doesn't mean you can't come back to it. It's not a good investment later, but it's almost what sank me. And now essentially it gets them to a place where they can go in skinny. They keep more money faster. And now it makes sense to go into building a business.
Did the rest of the industry, or most of it, pivot in that direction?
You know,
to virtual offices and stuff?
I don't know that they could because they had offices or leases or things. So in their franchise agreements of the other competitors of franchises, they have a prerequisite. So you had to have a certain amount of money, you had to have an office, you had to have all these barriers. So it raised the bar on who could get in. And for us, we had dynamic leaders that were ready to go, and they came in and said, great, I just need an opportunity.
I don't see why you would need to have an office in real estate. Like, what would be the purpose of an office for real estate pros, other than that they're all cold calling together in one spot in the camaraderie? But why would you need the office?
Well, you know, culture is a key factor, you know, and even when I think about what you did.
That's what I said, is the camaraderie.
But the culture is key because that's energy, because people in their mind can kind of lose focus and things like that. And so you can run without an office, but there are definitely advantages to having one too. So I don't all the way go away from that. If you do, you need to be intentional about setting up culture, whether that's happy hours or president's clubs or other events to get people together. Like you said, you can do call night without an office. You can do it at your house somewhere, right? So you can come up with creative ways, but if people are just doing it to lower down expenses and they're not intentional about growing a real business, because business is people, and you have to be able to energize them and give them motivation to want to keep going.
So what percentage of your business, of your offices now are virtual versus brick and mortar?
Oh, man, I don't know the number. I've got it in a dashboard somewhere, but I don't know. It's maybe 50%. Maybe it's 50-50.
And do you find that the virtual offices don't do as well as the brick and mortar, or are they equal?
You know, it varies. Sometimes it comes down to the leader. So some of the leaders will run one model where they're just hiring on agents, and agents are just using it as a platform to do deals. And others are running it where they're like, all right, I'm building something to get somewhere. Sometimes people get to the place where they're doing well and they say, well, I got to here without an office. Why do I need one now? And so then they can just keep going from there. So we've got kind of a variance of people.
If you want to take a guess, like, where do you see the business in not your business, just the industry in 10 years? You think it's more virtual, or you think they're going to go back? Like, what you're seeing right now, for example, with large companies, they're insisting that their employees come back. Tesla, right? Disney, you know, you keep reading about them every day where they're saying, you know, get Facebook, you got to spend X number of hours, you know, 40 hours a week or 4 days a week in the office, because they want that sort of that human interaction and the creativity and that comes out of that, right? So, but that being said, you know, there is sort of, you know, this sort of trend where things are moving virtually. So what do you think in terms of the real estate industry?
Sure. So, the reason they're doing that mainly, I think, is because of productionary things. And, you know, going around, we talk about it in our office. I'm like a hummingbird. I want to go around and talk to 5 people. I don't want to pick up the phone and call 5 people.
Right.
So that's easier for production. But those people are employees, so they're salary based, and that's different. In the real estate industry, they're 1099, and so they're contractors, so they can kind of come and go as they please anyway.
Right.
But again, there is a value in the office side if they set it up that way to make it used that way. If it's just an office and it's like a ghost town, then yeah, there's no value to that.
So COVID essentially marked a big turning point in your business, right?
It did.
And you went virtual at the time everyone had to, right?
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, as those restrictions wound down, did you start moving back into the center? So now you're saying half of it is virtual, half is not. What would you do? Like, as soon as you were able to get back in offices, did you start moving back into offices?
Well, ultimately, our company stayed in office anyway. So we stayed going. We practiced it a little bit ahead of time, but we went back to office. The other offices, again, there's a variance. So like some are back in office and they've just never stopped, or they keep going that way, and some are still staying virtual with what they're doing. So, you know, it's not. It varies.
So when did this grow? How many offices did you have when COVID hit?
20. Maybe 20 offices.
And how many do you have now?
107.
107.
Mm-hmm.
So we went from 20 to 107 over the last 36 months.
Yeah. So we sold 22 last year, and then we sold. 2021, we sold about 22. We opened 22 new offices, and then there were 48, I think, new offices in 2022. Oh, yeah, 2022.
And what's your goal for 2023?
We're looking to hit 100 this year, so that's what our goal is.
And then do you have sort of a growth curve? What are you projecting? 100, 150 the year after? What was there a certain jump up where it's just to really roll, or?
You know, I think it really is going to come down. We make decisions not as far out as that. Sometimes we're making decisions how many salespeople we have, how many leads are going on, what's the market doing, what's interest rates doing. So there's a lot of different variables that are going on. So if you double down on lead gen and employees to run a conversion rate on growth, but you don't have the opportunities out there to make that happen, then you're actually running behind. You know, you're losing money on an efficiency rate. On the flip side of it is, if there's opportunity out there and more people need to know about the product, then we want to keep doubling down on going that way.
So do you focus as a business person on finding more franchisees, or do you ever focus on the salespeople themselves, or you just go for franchises?
So I kind of keep a hybrid. I'll do coaching calls that are set up for all the agents nationwide. We do usually one-on-ones or group calls for all the franchisees. So I'm really involved in that. Like, and it's not just sales; it's really business. I mean, I think of it like we sell franchise. I'm not really in the real estate business. Sure. I'm in the franchise business, and so ultimately, I'm teaching them how to run business. Well, they're looking at their P&Ls or what they can make decision-wise, what are their margins, and so I coach on that, which takes some time, but the exponential growth they see is huge for us. And then the flip side is obviously bringing in new franchises.
How do you find new franchises? Do you advertise?
We do. We run some video that's out there. We have different things.
On what platforms?
We have it on YouTube. We run it on Facebook. There's Instagram. So all of those things are running as a lead gen. Usually what happens is we almost just tell a story. So if we're telling the story of what somebody else is doing or what we offer, somebody will raise their hand and say, hey, I'm interested. And so they reach out and we walk them through a discovery day. And so
sure. So who would you say is like your typical franchisee? Who responds to this? Who is it suited for?
Yeah, one of the things we had to learn was we're not looking for the same person Subway is, right? So they're looking for anybody that's, looking to build that business.
$50,000 a year job, basically.
We need real estate agents, because you almost need to know this industry or hire a broker or be in the industry to end up to work as a client for us. Okay. Otherwise, it's
So you're targeting real estate existing agents to be franchise owners.
Yes, I'm looking for people that when they're buying a franchise because they're already doing this every day anyway. They're just paying a bunch of money to another company as almost a middleman when they could be building their company.
Sure. What do you charge for a franchise?
$25,000.
25 is it? And is that financeable, or is it paid to cash?
It's financeable. Yeah, that's the finance company finances it.
So a person could buy a franchise from how much money down?
Usually they'll put about $5,000 down, and then if they finance it over 3 years, they're paying $500 a month.
Okay.
It's usually better than an 80-20 deal somewhere else, right? And that's not counting them growing.
And after that, they get 100% commission?
They only pay $150 transaction fee. So they can bring as many agents as they want.
Provide them the leads, or you sell them the leads?
We can give them leads, or we give them different programs. So we have things like Zillow or OpCity, different lead sources that we just took them like Fannie Mae, right? And we just plugged them into them and said, here you go do it. And they're like, wait, how do we charge? And we're not charging you. Here. It's just like giving more and more value than they're happy where they're at.
Why would a real estate agent not want to join your company? What's the downside?
Yeah. Ultimately a lot of agents do really well selling real estate. And so they're in that mode of where they're selling. And when they're selling and making money, they don't want to drop back and now grow a business. And so that's usually the number one reason somebody stops, or they have limiting beliefs. They don't think they know how to read a P&L. They don't know how the numbers work. They don't know different things that we're going to teach them and coach them on.
So they want to just sell real estate themselves. They don't want to hire and recruit other people to sell.
Right. And it breaks one of the rules. I essentially have two rules that I run by in business. Win-win. You familiar with what a win-win is?
Tell me
the saying of win-win. You knew it was a setup, didn't you? That's why you hesitated. So the win-win you have to win twice. If you don't win twice, you don't do it. So people end up doing one thing. I don't do speaking gigs. If you paid me to go do a speaking thing, I won't do it because I'm only going to get paid once. So that's working by the hour. I won't go sell real estate, because I go and sell real estate, then I'm doing it once and I get paid once. And even though it can be good, it's not for me. So for me, I got to win twice. So if I can build a business and make the profit of it and then sell it again later, that's winning twice. If I go buy a stock, I like a stock that is low purchase price and I can turn around and get a dividend on it. So if it doesn't go up, I still keep riding a dividend. Like, I just look for those kind of opportunities. Not everything. It's not, all the way through, but I won't get stuck in something that's a one for one. And essentially it's...
Well, you're saying you don't want to trade time for money.
No, I will not trade time for money, because I don't care about money and I won't waste time, because I'm building something, I'm fine with it. And what I learned is, how long can I go without a paycheck? And when I learned that, I realized realized what I could build. And you touched on this earlier without even knowing that is that essentially I said, well, we can build something really big if I don't need a paycheck. So if you're really efficient with your money, whether that's at home or other ways, you can save up enough money that now you can work on building something bigger. And a lot of people don't do that. They go out there, they sell their $1 million house, they get a $30,000 check, and then they spend it. And so they can't go into owning a franchise or building a business or doing the other things because they're making good money, and it's holding them back from building something. But when you get the passion for building something, doing the job day to day, it doesn't have the same.
Well, the two,
pizzazz.
I mean, I would say the two are not mutually exclusive.
Okay.
You can spend I spend a lot of fucking money, and I still have enough left over to build
Right.
anything
Yeah,
I
yeah.
want. Right. So there's like two schools of thought here, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't have to be a Spartan if you
Right.
earn tons of money.
That's right. That's right.
Right. I've never been one to like. I never tried to get rich by saving money. I've gotten rich by just making so much fucking money that I couldn't possibly spend it all, and then invest. Yeah. That's just, so. Let's talk about the Spartan lifestyle. When you say, what are the things that you don't do? When you say that you save a lot of money, like you don't go out for dinner, you don't have a nice car, you don't have a nice place to live, you don't buy furniture, you buy cheap. What do you do to live Spartan?
Well, at this point, I don't. I mean, I make money, make money.
No,
I know. I just want to be fair.
It's an important thing because a lot of people, they're getting started, and and there is that sort of trade-off of how much am I going to spend, how much am I going to save, but what are the things that you forewent
it's not necessarily even a forewent, it's more so an education. So which means if I shop around for my car insurance, I can find a cheaper car insurance. If I go out and I finance a car versus paying cash for a car, then I'm now paying debt on a depreciating asset. In that point in time, it's different now because you can write it against your business, but I'm talking about the beginning parts of this. If you're going out to eat, there was a point in time when I was doing sales, I brought a can of SpaghettiOs and I ate cold SpaghettiOs out of a can because I, one, didn't want to leave the phone, and two, it cost me 55 cents.
SpaghettiOs are pretty fucking good though.
Yeah, and they were cold out of the can, and I was fine because I was like, I ate, but now I didn't.
When I was a kid.
But everybody else is going out and eating these nice, dinners or lunches. They would eat these nice lunches. They wasted time and money, and I couldn't figure out how they could afford to do that. So.
Okay.
So those things.
About what kind of car did you drive? Did you buy a cheap car?
Well, I mean, I had the $1,000 car, but what's funny is I drove a $1,000 car I got from my aunt, but I had 3 houses. And so then that was cash flowing and money coming in. I was paying down debt. And so now I could make a lot of money and had cash flow. I would always double down. I bought more income. I would buy assets and buy income with the money. But yeah, you're at a trade-off. Once you've made and accomplished the goal you're looking to do, yeah, you can go spend the money on whatever it is you want. But if you're not reaching the goal, too many people are living an abundant lifestyle when they haven't done the work of getting enough money, making money. If you have one income from the work you do and it's not putting enough aside to be able to get money, making money, then you've got to change the category somehow.
You've mentioned many times here, like you don't care about money. It's not a big factor in your life, right? Mm-hmm. But money's important, right? I mean, like money's an important thing. I always say that money is the single most important thing in the world for a few basic things like food, shelter, medical care.
Sure.
Like there's requirements to make a certain amount of money. After that, yeah, I mean, there's other much more important things, but you do need to have a certain amount of money in your life, right?
Well, you do based on whatever it is you want, but air is important too. But I mean, we're not worried about air, right? There's more than enough of it.
Air's free, but medical care costs money and your rent costs money.
If you weren't getting air, you'd be worried about it.
Well, then
if you're getting money,
it's like one of these TV shows where like you go to Mars and they have to sell you fucking air, right?
Yeah.
And it becomes a valuable commodity.
But if you can go make money because you've learned the art of sales, even what you do is the art of sales. Salespeople make plenty of money. What they don't do is figure out the art of it and how to present their product and how to put it in front of the right people so that they can get a product moving through. Once you learn that, it can't be taken away. I mean, look, you moved into this level where you can step right back into this at any point in time and jump into sales because it's an art. And once you know how, it's like an artist doesn't worry about, how are they going to make their next art? They just keep working on it and you keep developing it and going through. So I'm not.
How important do you think it is for someone that's, let's say young, meaning someone that's up and coming? How important is it for them to really live within a budget?
Well, how much is enough? So, I mean, once you figure out what enough for you is, then that's it. Some people, it's $1 more. Rockefeller said $1 more, right? So they're going after one more. You're chasing. By the time you get to the end, are you going to just be chasing money your whole time that you missed out on life, right? And so, again, the whole thing that changed for me is I couldn't be at my daughter's school plays. I was dropping her off at a daycare at 5:30 to go to a plumbing job, to be all dirty and exhausted and get back at 4 and not be too tired to play with her and not make enough money. That wasn't going to work for me. So I knew that had to change, and it happened to be that I could make more time and money with real estate. So
So as a franchisor, right?
Okay.
What kind of struggles have you had in terms of what, like, did you get it right straight away, the model, or did it take you time to sort of, attract the right people, help them grow?
Ultimately, I doubled down on all the money that I had. I had safety and I doubled it down again. So going after the offices, I put a lot of money in the franchise thinking it was going to come sooner. And so I didn't realize I was getting out of one business into the other. So I took the profit of one and spent it on growing the other accidentally. And so so I had to figure that out with the cost effectiveness of spending more than I was bringing in. So I had to adjust to that. But then I had to go figure out who my customer was and how I could help them. And so, yeah, I had to go out there, but I got lucky. I really got lucky. Some amazing people came in at the right time. And I can look back on it now, and it's really easy to see that they were pivotal because they were great leaders that came along. They actually made the company what it is by growing and showing what it was capable, because otherwise it would have just been me. And it was saying, okay, you can do it, but can I? And when they came in and showed that it could be done, then that is actually when everything went.
What strikes me as interesting about your model and what you're doing is that typically this type of model where you are significantly delaying gratification, where you're not looking to make money right now, you're looking to build an organization. It's usually financed with venture capital, outside money, but you're not.
I didn't even know how to do that.
You don't know how to do that.
I didn't know how.
Have you ever taken in outside money to grow your business?
No.
Because most of the businesses that will say, I'm just going to attract lots of eyeballs, lots of users. I'm not going to worry about monetization right now because I know that I have the value proposition is amazing. And if I just build it around the value proposition, ultimately I'll figure out a way to monetize it, right? But usually that comes with like sort of a deep pocket where you're taking in money as you're losing money, or
right.
So you never did that.
No, but I do want to look toward doing that. I mean, that's something we can do if we can figure out how we can take that money and make it make money, right? And so I've got some ideas and concepts that we can grow franchises, generate business, and as we add ancillary. So we have the setup for them to add mortgage and title. So now if we can bring in VC money, generate leads, and own the buyer market, we can help the franchises now have more in the economy of scale with having all those offices. We can now generate leads, pass them deals, and have it go through the mortgage and title, and then it funnels back to the main holding company.
Do you take time to consider monetization yet, or are you still not? Like, in other words, like if it was me in your business, if I was running this business and I had all these offices, like I would be spending a lot of time like saying, okay, well, maybe I'm not going to monetize it today, but this is how I'm going to monetize it in the future. Like, what is the end game here?
I've thought about that. So the answer is, I mean, I made a lot of profit last year. I mean, so
define a lot, like millions,
a couple million. Yeah.
Okay.
So I made a lot of profit. So I have
on what?
On the businesses.
Well, how?
That's
at $150 a piece?
I know, but yeah, you're doing 600 plus transactions a month, and plus we charge a tech fee. So I mean, there's revenue. There's franchise sales is revenue. So there's revenue in the business.
Right. But I'm talking about, like, to me, I get that. But I mean, it would seem that with the scale at which you're building right now, and you're about to achieve real breakaway scale, right? It would seem there would be some way, very simple way, to really generate a tremendous amount of profit that wouldn't be in exchange for not delivering value. In other words, I think those two things can happen together.
Okay.
And I think that just strikes me as like this idea that you're, like, it seems like you have a little bit of a limiting belief about the ability to monetize your business and grow it at the same time. And somehow if you monetize it, it takes away from the value of it. And I think that's not, like, if you look at Facebook, for example, right? Like, in the beginning, they didn't not monetize their business.
Right.
They waited because they wanted to keep it cool. And ultimately, though, within X number of years, they figured out a way to really monetize their business. Many businesses like that. Google was the same way. You build the eyeballs first, or the audience first, and then you figure out the monetization strategy, right? And I believe that you could always figure one out. So if I were you, I was thinking about that.
I'm open, and there's been calls. So I have calls where they've done it, but what I have to do then is calculate what it is, because nobody's putting money in unless there's an ROI on it. So what control do I lose that has what impact, and what are we going to do with the money?
Well, for example, if you have all these people selling houses, you own the mortgage arm, you make money on the mortgage side.
Right. Yep. So
that's obvious, right?
Yeah. So I mean, we have
a title insurance company, make money on title.
Yeah. So that's the play.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's a very simple way.
But that's not a purchase. That's not somebody coming in and buying equity or monetizing that way. But
No,
you can sell them ancillaries.
What I'm saying, you're missing what I'm saying here is that if you're going to go present this to private equity or VC, the first thing is say, okay, great, it looks great. What's the monetization strategy? So and then based on that strategy and your growth trajectory, is going to come with a valuation.
Sure.
If you haven't figured out how to monetize the business, your valuation is going to be down here. If you figured out an amazing monetization strategy, then you could extrapolate that. Say, hey, we're going to have 4,000 offices at X. If suddenly you're making $300 million a year, the value is what it was times 10.
Sure. So I look at profit margin per company and I look at the revenue per company. So my goal is to grow revenue and increase the profit margin on each one. So I'm tracking them. The finance company is 95%. So, and then because that's a compound effect, the purchase buys another purchase, you're bringing in a 12% rate that's then buying at a discount, and the payment comes in to buy the next one. You don't even need any new money.
How closely do you keep track of same store sales year over year, same franchise sales?
Same store meaning how many transactions they grow?
One of the most important indicators in this type of business would be
agent growth.
It's with it, not just how many new franchises you can sign up, but each franchise, are they growing individually year over year? Same store, same franchise sales. Is there growth in the franchises?
Yes. So we go from how many area reps to how many franchise sales, to how many agents, to how many transactions, and then we even run a closing coordination model that's in there, to mortgage and title capture. So those are all the flows all the way vertically integrated.
So you're at 43, right?
I'm 42.
42, right? Okay. So what's your ultimate end game? What's your goal in life here? You're doing really well right now. You have a great, listen, you have a really nice, solid business, rapidly growing.
Thank you.
Where do you see yourself personally in like 10 years from now?
I think I have more of this to do and grow. I think the right key partners are going to come along as we had to do something for someone to even notice or care what we were doing, right? So I think we're hitting that phase in stride now where we're getting some attention in what's going on. We both want to keep growing the business and look for that strategic partner as we grow. And as far as it goes, if I sold it, what would I do tomorrow, right? And so, these are all my people, that I'm helping grow, and we're not done yet, right? So I want to see them succeed significantly. So I'm invested in them emotionally, and it's less money, but I do make money as they succeed. I'm betting that I can help them, right? Because if I'm getting a $150 transaction fee, and they do 2 transactions, that's $300. And if I'm talking to them 3 or 4 times a month, that's what I was doing in the beginning, is a lot of talking for a little revenue or even spending money to coach with them. And so, but at this point now, it's momentum because they're synergizing. They're in groups together. They start coaching each other. I don't even say it. Somebody else says it, and they almost listen faster and grow faster. And so, watching that go on, it's like, this is fun. This is really fun. Watching people's lives change. They go from being an agent to running an office, like these guys here that are, they have 100 agents and they were only with us for 2 years.
Right.
So, that's huge. They're out of production. They have 100 agents. That's fun. Now, yes, there's more to go on, but I don't know what that's going to look like. I think we're just getting started.
Who would you say, if there was one company right now, real estate, that you're most like, in the sense that that you think that you're going to essentially chase and overtake at some point? Who would that be?
Chase and overtake. So in that case, okay, so there's a couple things. Ultimately, I think that we are the best of almost every company, right? So there's a company called Fathom. They are a corporate company that has a $500 transaction fee, just similar to our franchise model. You got EXP, so it has the scaling and the technology. The same one that our agents get at 100%, they're charging 80% for, right? So we have that one. There's Keller Williams. They have a great culture, but they're charging a certain amount of money, and what they're charging is what we charge for when we give you leads, right? So we're kind of the best of all of those.
What's the easiest way to contact you if someone's interested in a franchise or coming to work for your company?
Sure. So First Class Real Estate, there's a website. You can see all of our locations. You can put a contact form, sign up for Discovery Day. You can see the offices and join any of those there.
So FIRST, First Class?
The 1ST.
1ST.
And then we'll put a link, because the book, Explode, we'll give a free copy to anybody that wants
Your book?
Yeah. So they can get a free copy. If we can put that in the podcast, then they can click that link. They can get a free copy of that. We also have free listing presentations, buyer presentations. We just give stuff away for free. We even have a coaching person that coaches our franchisees, John Cheplack. We'll give away a session of that for free. So anything they want, we'll give them that. That way they can get a feel for who we are and what we have, and that'll be in the link. So
Rhyan Finch, first class real estate. Listen, I love what you're doing. I think it's really interesting to have someone that's on the way up like this to see just how explosive an idea can be. This is like in that stage where it's just getting traction here. So I'd love to have you back on in a year or so and see where you are. And
I'd be honored.
I have a feeling that you'll be in a significantly larger company at that point, making a lot of money. But I know money's not your end game, but it's a result of what you do. So you won't be able to help but make money if you do it right.
Yeah, well, hopefully we'll help a lot of people make money, and I think that's how we'll win. So, and I appreciate any advice you give.
You got it. All right, everyone. Share this with your friends. If you're interested, reach out to Ryan. He's a good man. Take care. Thanks. See you next time at the Wolf's Den.